Hey YouTube, I wanted to do a little update on my Singer 111 W153 sewing machine. This is kind of in response to one reply that I got in my last video. Uh, I've been kind of messing around with this machine. I'll admit that I've been touching a lot of things, trying to clean it. I removed the whole bobbin case. I pulled the whole thing out to clean it, just check it out, make sure everything was like, good. Put everything back. I was having a problem with the timing, and after I figured out how to set the timing, then I realized that the whole shaft mechanism was moving back and forth, which essentially affects the timing. So no matter really what I was doing, the fact that the shaft was actually moving left and right was affecting the timing. So I was messing around with that. I thought I kind of fixed that, the whole moving back and forth part. But let me show you this one thing real quick, and then I'll flip the machine and I'll show you another thing. The issue that I seem to have fixed the timing issue, or at least it was fixed. Then the stitch length somehow got mixed up so that it was stitching super tight stitches, even though I set it on the widest setting, as best I can tell. So that was one problem that I somehow inadvertently changed. But beyond that, it's not feeding correctly. This is just a scrap piece of bicycle tube with a little soft thing on the inside. I just want to show you that it's basically starting to feed back, and then it brings the material back forward, and essentially the material doesn't go anywhere. So as you can see, it goes back, comes back forward, goes back. So it's basically just pushing it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's not feeding the material to the back. And of course I don't have it threaded, but you can see that's certainly not right. So pop this up, and maybe you can see better this way. I hope I'm not damaging anything by doing this, but you see how the feed dogs were set too low. Then I was able to correctly, it said, I read that basically you want one tooth height, which I basically have. But as you can see, okay, so the feed dogs are, it's going back. Now it's coming forward and pushing the material forward. The feed dogs are up, pressing against the foot. It's coming forward, which I don't think it should do. My thinking is the feed dogs should be coming up right about here and then going back, disappearing, going back with it, and then showing up right there, going back. That just doesn't, it's just not working right. Alright, so let me flip the machine carefully. So in response to what one of the viewers said, they said that this bar, when it's at its highest, right about there, the arrow here and here should line up. Now, they didn't. So what I did, and I hope, again, this was correct. I don't really know. I didn't know how else to do this, but to achieve that, what I did was I actually took these two set screws out just to take a peek and put some oil in there. This did not want to move freely on the shaft. So I took these out, oil down there, and what I did was, when I aligned this, I pressed this button from the top down to basically, that's how this stops the shaft. So what I did was, because this was lined up, I stopped the shaft, held the button, stopped the shaft, and I hand cranked this to rotate this from this. So effectively, this was changing the position of this because it was apparently incorrect. So I turned this to get this to the right height. That was set. That was set. Then I zapped this down, tighten this back down. Now what I did do before I changed any of this, I don't know if you could see it or not, I did actually mark it. So if you can see, this marking used to line up with this before I changed anything. So it was off by this much. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, what I did was I kind of smushed over this collar to basically hold the shaft from going left and right. What I did not know was there's actually a set screw up in here and up in here. I just couldn't see it because it was all junked up with crap. So now that I know there's a set screw here and here, that is what I believe holds that shaft from spinning, or from going left and right, I should say. That would make sense. This looks like it goes right up and probably grabs that, because I was having a problem with this whole thing moving clunk, 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 clunk. So I'm gonna try to undo this, get to that collar. One question I do have is the whole feed dog mechanism, I think, could probably be resolved by rotating this collar, because this is what basically, it's ovalized, so that's what effectively pushes the feed dogs up and comes down, goes up and comes down. So I may have turned this on the shaft, which would in fact change all this. The way I have it now is, what makes sense is that, there's a set screw in there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a set screw right there. Okay. Now normally anytime you see a set screw, it should be on a flat right there. Okay, which it is. So to me, just like this set screw is on the flat, that set screw should really be on the flat. To me, that would indicate that that is actually correct, but maybe it's not. If that is correct, then I'm really not sure how to really align those feed dogs to do its thing correctly. But I guess I'm going to play with it. I'm going to try to I'm going to move this over. I want to see if I could create that rock again in the shaft, and then I want to see if these set screws will in fact hold that from shifting. Also, last note is, I was playing with this. This is really what lengthens or shortens the stitch length. From best I could tell is when that thing right there is at its widest, that means the stitch is at its widest. And I set it so that basically when this is at its widest, in the window it shows, I believe, 5, which would indicate the longest stitch that this machine can do. So maybe, I don't know if, I really don't know. Anyway, maybe you guys can kind of analyze this and see what is going on. Maybe you guys can spot something that I don't have any reference points, so it could be very close to being correct, or it could be really, really off, and I wouldn't be able to know the difference. I'm just going by my mechanical sense, which usually is pretty good. But anyway, thank you, and I'll post up again. Thanks.